Great. So, we are here to talk about the third part of the fundamentals of retailing. Before we go and talk the third part, I think it is worthwhile to touch base that what we have covered into the part 1 and part 2 and then move to the third one. If you really wanted to get into the detail, then I would recommend to spend some time around 10-15 minutes, visit part 1 and part 2, which I think you will be find out into uh, the connecting links or in the description. But let me give you the overview that what we have covered. So in the previous training, we have gone through the retailing, the definition of retailing. We have talked about different types of retailers and how they add value to the retail chain. Right, a simple example we have given about starting from manufacturing to selling this the doll actually in the retail store, and how actually the retailers add value and finally sell it to the end customer. We have seen the classification: store based, non store based, service based retailers. We have seen the types of retailer, which is critical to this whole training. So talking about mom and pop grocery retailers, we talked about the the evolution of the retail industry, how from the old age till the modern age right now where we are running the retail training, and you see all the modern name Flipkart, Mantra, Amazon playing the critical role. We also talked about the modern retailing, how the landscape is being built. Right, initially there was single channels, moved to the multi-channel retailing, selling from the e-commerce, selling from the physical, and selling from the catalog retailing. But over a period of time they evolved, and now they are having a single channel. As a customer, I would never be able to find out that I'm buying from the three different channel, and the one where every retail is trying to submerge is called unified retail commerce. So respective, it's one name. You buy it from online channels, you buy it for offline channel, call centers, catalog retailing, mobile applications, xyz, right? So the uniform view, it means that the pricing, the promotion, the experience that you will have on one channel, you will always find on another channel, and you can always buy from one, return on one, things like that is what retailer is looking for. Now moving to the next is, we will get deeper into this training. Right, we just got the overview. Now next slides are much deeper, and as we move into this training, it's gonna be around 10-12 hours to complete the exhaustive trainings, not only from fundamentals to going to every single part what retailer and as retail touches upon. In this training, what I'm going to talk about, some the especially the merchandising part. So next few slides is only to talk about merchandising, but while getting deep into merchandising, we'll spend few minutes actually talking about the other functions what you as a retailer is actually dealing with. So merchandising and buying, these are the two critical activities which involves finding out what exactly you need to buy, and planning what how actually you wanted to put those into the store. So those are primarily buying and merchandising activities. Supply chain is mostly the movements of the goods is considered into the supply chain. That once you know what you wanted to buy and how much you wanted to buy, then supply chain comes into the picture to move those goods from supplier location to your distribution center, from your distribution center to your store, or let's say the in store movement transfer, so things like that. Property is another. See, retailer is always known as a physical retail shop. So property plays, even today, property plays a very critical role because 90 to 90 85 to 90% of the revenue for any omni-channel or unified retailer comes across from the offline retail. So selecting the right property, selecting the right location for your retail is at most important. So we'll touch upon that. Store operations, so everything when you enter into the store, what you see is part of a store operation. So what time you open the store, how you replenish your stock, how you make sure that you serve the customer, continuously you make sure that you print the right pricing, put across the right promotions, the right experience, the right MB, the lighting, right, and making sure that you have enough staff in the store to support your customers. The experience of the customers is seamless, is what all comes into the retail. So very interesting slide I have to talk about the retail operations, marketing, how you market your retail business, most important part, touching base into the IT function. So any single SKU that you see in the retail is actually called master data. The suppliers, the vendors, the different locations, the financials, everything is mapped to the master data. So I would say that I have expertise into the master data management. So we'll get a very good view what is master data, how it impacts the whole retail value chain, and some of the supporting functions. Without that, it's very difficult for any retailer to survive. Is human resources are the asset. Majority of the people that you see in the store or behind the stores is asset for the company. The IT operation, which is supporting the end-to-end operations, the finance team and the legal team, and there are quite a few, but we'll touch upon all this. So this is what a journey of this particular fundamentals look like. Once you cover all this end to end, then you could say that you have a good understanding, and then we'll deep dive into other domains in my next slides. So getting into the merchandising, right? So what is merchandising all about? So if I segregate retail into, let's say, 2 to 3 part, the very first part is strategy. So for a moment, think about that. You wanted to start a new retail business. You do not know that what exactly you wanted to do. So this is where the retail strategy comes in. You think about where is your corporate location, what exactly, which customer you wanted to target. Do you wanted to target the customer who are price sensitive? Do you wanted to have a niche offering, or do you wanted to target customer who are premium or upper class? So different, like what part of branding you wanted to do. Do you wanted to have ADLP? Do you wanted to have premium pricing based on the segmentation or the target customer that you offer? So all this strategy come into the picture. How you define your portfolio, which channel you wanted to sell in. Do you wanted to start from only offline, or you wanted to go full-fledged online, offline, and unified or omni-channel? So things like that. Another part, you have to define the strategy. So single retailer, like right now we are having convenience stores, supermarkets, hypermarkets, pauseless stores. So as a retailer, when you wanted to start a new business, you need to think about which particular store size you wanted it to operate in, and that is where the merchandising will play a very critical role. If you are operating in convenience, your assortment, the goods that you're trying to sell is different. If you wanted to get into supermarket or hypermarket, your offering would be different. So you need to take this call in much advance before you start your business. Not going into the deeper of this, as I said, the target is to talk about the planning and merchandising piece and give you the view of what comes on the flow. So when it comes to the merchandising, so merchandising planning, merchandising management is critical part of that, right? The moment, so when initially this is my planning part. When once you know what you wanted to buy, then you have the supply chain part, which is the network management, planning the route optimizations. How would you, where would you put your distribution centers? So you bought it from here, you put it into distribution center. Supply chain helps you to move the goods, and then finally you sell it via multiple channel. It could be digital channel, it could be your order processing channel, customer support channel. So it's all about link to the customer. This is all our backend activities, right? And there are supporting activities. Let's say if I talk about the in details of buying and planning, which I'm going to cover more into this slide. uh, it goes back to merchandising, goes back to the category management, defining the best vendors, how you wanted to do the brand marketing. You need to do the assortment planning. Now what is assortment planning is what I'm going to cover in the next few minutes. But all these activities, these are the capabilities which retailer looks for. So getting into the right sourcing, markdown optimizations, price and promotions, finding the right mix. If you wanted to have your private level management also being sold, not only the national level management, right? And continuously build this analytics layer to understand that everything is going smooth. Other sections we'll cover probably in the next slide as we go. But what we are going to talk about is merchandising. So it's all about, as I said, category management, assortment planning, product sourcing, markdown optimizations, vendor management, price and promotion management, assortment executions is what comes under the merchandising in summary. Uh, so that is just gist of what I have just said. So as a merchandiser, let's say you are responsible for merchandiser, so you have a category management role or merchandiser role. So you would be responsible for finding the right assortment. So let's say if you decided that you wanted to operate into hypermarket, the depth, right? So let's assume that there's a T model. So the assortment horizontally, what would be the broadness of that assortment and how depth you want it to go? It depends on the hypermarket or the size of the format that you wanted to run. So if you are into the convenience store, you would like to put across in your shop the goods which are more fast moving. You would like to put across the bread, butter, the daily consumables, rather than putting the store which are having the high shelf life, right? You will not put the heavy household, light household. It would be more grocery items. But when it comes to the hypermarket, so this is going to be a store which could be the size of, let's say, 30,000, 40,000 square meter, right? And you have everything. You have food, you have non-food, you have electronics, you have I would say garments in it. You could have multiple types of brands for a single I would say product. You have different packaging size. So if I, as a customer entering into the hypermarket, I as a retailer, I want to make sure that he does not come out and I have everything what he's looking for in my target area. So that is what the merchandiser plays the role. Definition, so we are talking about, let's say, 100,000 to 150,000 of SKU, or it depends on the size. Let's say it's a 100,000 SKU. So mapping all those SKUs. What is SKU? I'm going to talk about it for a moment. Think about that. This mic is one of the SKU. So mapping it to the right hierarchy. Is it under food? It is under non-food. It is under heavy household, light households, consumer durables, or things like that. Is the mapping plays a it's a critical role, because all your analytics, all your replenishment, all your fulfillment or communications, your planning works on mapping the category. So which start, let's say, from division, goes to groups, goes to department, you goes to, let's say, your class, subclass. So all starts from there. So for an example, if you're operating into food, one of the category, the department could be fruits and vegetables, your subclass could be exotic foods, your class could be exotic foods, your subclass could be, let's say, again, maybe uh, the strawberries. Under strawberries, if you have 2 3 types of strawberries, or if you have apple, then multiple types of apple could come into that. So this is how all are logically mapped in, followed throughout your organizations. The third point, as a merchandiser, or the merch comes into the practice of merchandising in the trade negotiations. So here I'm going to talk about a secret which merchandiser or the commercial teams primarily, or the retail works. So retail does not work on the front margin primarily. No one in the retail store would ever know that how much they are earning. The secret recipe for any retailer to succeed the trade negotiation that I do with my supplier. And these trade negotiations are called back margin. So any product which is the cost of that product is 10, I am selling this into the retail store, could be in 9 or 10. But that is not my last end goal, or I would say that is only a front margin. But there is a significant margin into the back, which I, based on the power, based on the negotiation power I do with suppliers. So this is called the rebates. So you sit with the suppliers, you tell them that this is the quantity that you're going to buy. So they will give you the front margin, maybe 15-20%, and then they will give you another 15 to 20% of back margin. So your final margin could be 40%. After calculating, after doing all the plus minus, you end up having, let's say, 7 to 8% EBITDA in the world of retail, and net margin of 3 to 4%. And that's where it is called one of the thin margin business. Pricing and promotions plays a very critical role, significant for any sales, significant to drive the sales for retailer. So that is again comes into the merchandising team. They keep talking to the supplier, or supplier comes to them and tell that I want to put my product into the prime location in the store, and I would give you 5% extra, which 5% either you can keep yourself or you can pass to your customer. Or there are continuous negotiations with suppliers to push the products, especially let's say if Coke or Pepsi, they give 5-10% discounts, vendor funded, and retailer pass those 5-10% to the customer, and customer comes to the store when these promotions are broadcasted on the TVs or radio or different news channels. So this is where the everyday low price retailers plays a big role. They give a lot of promotions, they give best pricing, which finally comes back, the credit goes back to the merchandiser who is in discussion with the suppliers or the whole value chain behind to get the best pricing for you, for the customer. Some of the definition that you should be aware about is the SKU, the stock keeping unit. This is again another term that you keep hearing when you wanted to enter into the world of retailing. And the simple definition: every unique product on the floor is called SKU. Or we call it the lowest level of any product. So if you are having a rice, right? Rice could be my, I would say, let's say uh, class, right? Under rice, if I have a different let's say category of rice, maybe basmati, sona, xyz, and under particular I would say subclass, if I have a different type of rice, again maybe 1 kg, 5 kg, 10 kg, 15 kg, 20 kg. So every single variety, that unique variety is would be called SKU. But again, if under 1 kg I have 3 flavors, it could be, let's say, I don't know, maybe some sort of a flavor 1, flavor 2, and flavor 3, then it would become 3 SKU. So when I'm ordering, I would order only for that SKU, not for the whole bulk. So I would be able to, when I'm selling, I would only scan that item, so my SKU for that, the inventory for that SKU will get reduced. So the whole cycle of retailing works on the SKU. Coming down to assortment. So assortment is the logical group of the products which you plan and send to the stores based on the classification of the stores. Merchandising hierarchy level. So I have talked about that every retail product has a lot of attributes in it. It has a master data attributes like the description, pricing, weight, height, size, whether it is having alcohol, whether it is flammable, and what department it belongs to. That department is part of which particular, let's say, group or particular division. So all logical mapping comes across the merchandising hierarchy level, which as a merchandiser is your responsibility to make sure that it is followed across your value chain, across your retailer. Planogram is a logical way of displaying and staking SKU in the store. So planogram is planning where you wanted to put that goods. For an example, you would not appreciate having, let's say, the goods which is perishable next to maybe some sort of electronics, right? And it has to be close to the store because it is perishable. You need to plan that it has a right temperature so that the perishable goods last long. And in the store there are different ways to plan the goods to make the profitability of the retailer better. So for a moment, visualize a single shelf. On the shelf, when you wanted to, when you see the product, you'll always see the product which is designed due part of the planogram strategy to keep at the eye level, and retailer tries to keep the product which is the highest margin on the eye level, and the product which is promoted by the supplier at the eye level. So that is where the planogram, the planning is very critical to maximize the profitability of the retailer, and merchandisers are the mind behind that, or the team of the experts who knows what products will bring what profit in, which will entice the retailers or the customers to buy from your store. Some of the KPIs which we could talk about is as a part of the merchandiser, the sales value, what how much sales we are doing, how much quantity actually we are buying or selling for that product. To understand the trend, if those are not selling continuously, there is a slippage stock. The slip, we call it any stock which is in the store lying from a very long time and we're not selling, then they try to cut that, delist those product and replenish or put across. We call it assortment optimization activity. They do that. Gross margin. So Gross margin primarily calculated at the subclass level or class level or department level to understand that how the department is doing. The eventually we target around, let's say, 15-20% of the gross margin at the category level. So that would come as a definition: what is my cost, what is my front margin, what is my I would say the back end margin, and other key expenses, which gives me the gross margin. Bill penetration, right? What is the penetration of that bill? What is the size, the average bill value, and the target to make the bill value as possible, as long. And this is where they try to do a lot of upselling, cross selling, put across the merchandising in such a way that you're buying one product, you would be enticed to buy another product. Maybe it could be the example that the next to the bait you will find a ball, so you'll see, okay, if I'm buying a bat, why don't I get a one ball? So things like that to make sure that bill value goes higher. Inventory turnover. So for an example, how long what is the cycle of that inventory that being turnover, how long it is going to take for you to sell this particular SKU, and how many turns it is doing, is part of the analysis. That any inventory which is the turnover is very high is considered that it is really doing good. Stock gauging, how long that product would be there in the shelves. Ideally, the any product which is for a very long time may get expired, you have to finally replace those products. So they continuously keep working to make sure that it is not lying in the shelves. They comes with the promotions to move that stock. They come with a lot of liquidation. So after a point, if the product is still not moving, finally they liquidate it, give the final 10, 15, 20% discounts so that you can buy and move it, but it never goes back to the original price, right? Expiry percentage, what is the percentage of the products which is getting expired, which should be always minimal. So all this, some of the KPI, there is a tons of KPI which retailer looks for. I don't want to get this session complicated, so I'm only talking about this few key KPIs. I know this is going to be a bit longer session. I always wanted to give you the bites, but this is again a hard. Merchandising is hard for the whole retail journey. This is a simple workflow, right? So I was talking about all this. I want to keep it again, the flow very simple. So think about, and you are starting a new business. The very first thing I will do the financial planning. I will plan my OTB, right, which is called open to buy. I will say that what is my budget to buy a particular category. Let's say I'm introducing a new category called HHH, heavy household. I want to start selling electronics. Now this moment you will plan, okay, in a year for all my stores, I want to go for maybe let's say maybe $10 million. All right, so $10 million is what you would decide, and then you start segregating. Okay, what should I, how much quantity I should say for washing machines, refrigerators, TV, computers, XYZ. So all these segregations at a very high level, based on your experience in the data, you decide that investment is called the financial planning or merchandising financial planning. Then based on the merchandising financial planning, they do the shopper insight analysis, try to understand that what could be the could be the basket size, what is the mission of the shopper that they comes across. Do we have a good number of loyal customers from other categories? If we introduce this, it could be the possible match to start selling this, right? The next thing is doing the clustering, so identifying the right demographics, identifying the right stores clustering, so that we can start mapping this new category to those stores. It's not required to sell across to all the stores from the one. They continuously try to do the assortment planning or optimization. Is there any other category which we need to get rid of because it is not doing good and we need some space to introduce this new category? So they know there is a retailer continuously the optimizations, listing, delisting of those assortments is a regular practice. Part of the planogram, it comes across the macro space planning, where think a big store, under that store we do the floor planning, we do the space analytics in, for an example, okay, when as a customer I enter, what we wanted to show him the first, right? What should be the portion in the store going to the heavy household, what should be the portion going to the maybe let's say clothing, what should be the percentage going to the food, non-food. So all this macro space planning is done part of this. What are the different types of furnitures, right, which we call gondolas, different types of refrigerations techniques, the point of sales. All this planning is been done under the macro space planning. A level down is comes across the micro space planning, where we think that how many quantity of a particular brand we wanted to put across. In if this is my shelf, let's say, then in the shelf, do I wanted to give this space in the middle, which is called eye level, or somewhere on the top or somewhere on the down, based on my category strategy. In let's say if it is then how many facing of this I wanted to do, and how many depth I wanted to do. So this is all where the planning goes across. If I, for an example, I have 20 types of water in a shop, which is a convenience store, in the depth of 10, then it doesn't make sense, because as a customer, if I'm entering into the customer into the convenience store, I just want pick up the water. I'm not very much choosy on the different types of water and different types of brand. So all this planning comes across my macro and micro space planning across. Planogram on the go, again, I am focusing very much on the planogram, but the idea is to plan it and finally execute those plans into the store, and continuously doing the analysis of those categories. How are they doing, right? Store macro space analytics, understanding that, and if the products are not doing good, do the price and promotion planning, and finally sell those goods. So this is the journey which we always talk about, from planning to put the goods in the store, part of my merchandising or category management process. I'll talk about this probably. This is a reference of architecture from Gartner, which could be complicated this moment, but let me spend few minutes here. So this is where merchandiser plays a role. So retail assortment and management process. At any point of time when they know that what is their assortment look like, they do the continuous review of those assortment. They introduce a new assortment, like we said we wanted to introduce a heavy household. They continuously understand the customer decision tree. Okay, if I'm entering in the store, am I only coming to buy groceries? Am I only coming to buy maybe clothing? Am I coming there to buy non-food items? So they try to understand that tree, and based on that, continuously update the offering to the store and to the customer. Clustering is clustering of the different types of the store having the similar characteristics. The premium stores, the stores which are targeted only to a particular ethnicity, stores which are into the area where people are more sensitive. So based on the I would say the location or the clustering, they push the assortments to that particular location. So all the stores under the same clustering would have the similar price, would have a similar assortments. Replenishment is the journey where we continuously push the products from the value chain to the stores based on the assortment planning that we do. We talked about the unification. So the idea is that when I do this continuous category planning, we should have the unified experience. If I'm going by online, if I'm going offline, I should have the similar offering, similar experience. That it shouldn't happen that pack of chips is a different price in the store offline, and when I'm buying online it's a different price. So that is the experience this framework actually provides across. Moving to the last slide probably in this, this is how the whole architecture for the merchandising process looks like. So if you wanted to design the depth of the merchandising, I think this is my second last slide to conclude this. I know it's quite a long session, but I'm hoping that I have added value, and I'm giving you the view based on my experience, which you can further furnish, further going deep dive. And only request that I wanted to make to everyone, that if you really like this session, please put across your comments, put across your suggestions. Keep liking, keep subscribing, share within your community who wanted to learn about retail, because I'm not costing anything. It is free of cost, and it takes some efforts to record this with a lot of equipments and also the time and energy to edit the session. So thank you so much for subscribing and putting the hit on like button. So coming down to the topic, this is my analytics. So for an example, for the complete offering of this category management, there are retail assortment management tools which continuously do the analysis of the retail inventory. As I talked about, there are master data management tool required. Think about the trip code, think about SAP master data management, Oracle MDMs. Many products are there where you do the master data. The planogram tool is required. The demand and supply forecasting tools are required. There are pricing and promotions tool are required. And finally, the PIM, the product information management, where you enrich more information and make sure that it is customer friendly and you can send it across to the multiple channel. The picking engines, the digital asset management, and on top of it, whatever you're doing is required to be reflected into your analytics journey, whether it is customer analytics, whether it is category analytics, or promotion or price analytics, to know that okay, I have given the 10% promotion, whether I was able to sell it across, or I should reduce my promotion or increase the promotion. So all this picture actually gives the view that what should be the data saying. Simple visual, I would say a simple visual uh, uh, information. So this is a visual. So for an example, here a simple planning and assortment process. So let's say you have a different types of product, maybe shampoos, soaps. You have a different categories of maybe hair conditioners or any XYZ product. So you have a different products here. You categorize this into different assortment group. Maybe this is my assortment 1, assortment 2, assortment 3, assortment 4, and I do a lot of clustering in of the store. So this is my cluster A, which is urban and small size. Cluster B is urban and medium size. Cluster C is suburban or medium, and this is my suburban or large. So if you see that in the suburban large, I wanted to keep everything. So I'm allocating all my P1 to P8 or everything into this. But when I go to the store, which is let's say small size, I want only the core products there. So I'm only assigning this products range and I wanted to sell only. But if I go to suburban medium, I'm only keeping the one which is this, and let's say this one and this one, which I think that this one and this one and this one, I don't think that this would be doing good. So I have skipped it. So all this planning, defining the cluster, finding out the products, buying the products, planning it across which particular location you wanted to sell it, at what cost you wanted to sell it, when to run promotions, and finally how you as a merchandiser can make sure that the whole retail category is profitable, comes across part of the category management process.